Hey guys, so by now you've probably heard that Jessi, Korean-American rapper, K-pop star in her own right, is dealing with a bit of a Scootergate situation of her own. I'm going to call it PIC Gate. If you don't know who Jessi is, well, by Korean standards, she's a little bit too tan, her chest may be a little bit too big, and her peach may be a little bit too bootylicious, but she has captivated the Korean public and has been a mainstay on K-pop stages and in the entertainment industry in Korea for years now. She may be dealing with a lot of unwarranted hate in the current PIC Gate situation, and PIC, of course, from her hit viral TikTok sensation Zoom.
I see you looking at my PIC.
And then, of course, there's Nunu Nana. And then there's gum before bubblegum. So she got into a bit of a tussle because of something unfortunate that happened when a fan asked for a photo, and it just spiraled out of control. Let's get into it. So you may or may not have noticed the hate train on Jessi, because I don't think she really has a competing fandom. So there's not as many antis that are trying to take her down in order to elevate her competitor. She really doesn't have a competitor, I would say. That she is in a genre, yes. Other people are in the K-pop, hip-hop, rap game, but a lot fewer who are females, women of her stature, and can really captivate the mainstream public. So she's sort of like in her own lane. I mean, if K-pop were like the main highway, she's like the rebel who's like driving on the side of the highway on a parallel surface street that sometimes could go faster. And so some people kind of like how she is a bit bold, like, you know, she's generally going in the same direction, but she's taking it in a different, unique path. And maybe some of the haters are upset that why is she going on the parallel street? Why isn't she in the highway? But if she were on the highway, you would be upset that maybe she'd be trying to be merging into your lane, and you're just like, well, if everybody, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, if I gotta be on this highway, you gotta be on this highway too, but it'd be nice if you weren't on this highway. So she doesn't go on the highway, and then you're like, well, why is she not on the highway? I think a lot of her haters are in that kind of crab bucket mentality. And well, she even said it herself with her potty mouth. That's why people like her, and that's why she's always skirting the line. But even in her potty mouth, she's saying like, you know, most of my haters, you know, they generally, maybe be like an A cup, B cup or something. And not that all A cup, B cups hate Jessi, but she's saying that a lot of people are focusing on that as a method of trying to bring her down. So she's always kind of, I think, been on the positive side of a coin that's about to kind of flip on her. And in this kind of situation, if there is some reason that the public who hates her feels justified to speak out, this is it. She's always kind of had to balance this tough line because she is bold. She is, you know, kind of voluptuous. Not that there aren't other voluptuous celebrities, but she kind of leads with that. And she is Korean American. So yes, they do face this even discrimination in Korea, but she is funny. I would say that in the general sense of it, the public really appreciates how much effort she gives to make them laugh. And she had a career that was going like up and down in the music industry. And once she started to go on the entertainment programs that showed her personality, that's when even her music career also took off. Like they both took off because people really appreciated this kind of breath of fresh air. She's like that friend that says anything that's on her mind, you know, being very transparent. She comes into the room and she's very loud, and you'd think like, oh, loud and obnoxious, but she's not trying to take away anybody else's thunder. You can kind of feel that she's really putting the effort to make other people laugh and kind of take the pressure of trying to be too perfect off. But that doesn't always fly so well because she, you know, may make some blunders here or there, but overall people really appreciate how brave she is. And at the core, I think she embodies the Ajumma spirit, and people like that. The Ajumma spirit, you know, basically like when you reach a certain age, middle age and above in Korea as a woman, society generally accepts that, you know, you've earned your stripes to basically talk your mind and not have to like be so genteel at moments.
그러니까 노래를 살짝만 부르시라고.
그게 저 유명한 가수라서 저 제대로 연습을 해야 유명한 가수예요.
유명하다고?
But she gets to be that kind of bold Ajumma that people respect while she's still, you know, kind of like looking fly before Ajumma status. So as a celebrity, as an idol, it's really kind of cool. It's a bit of a wish fulfillment, I think, for women who think like, okay, cool. Like, wouldn't it be cool to be able to have that Ajumma potty mouth while I'm still hot and, you know, booking it? And so I think she's navigating all of the positive sides of this double-edged coin. And so it's kind of flipping on her right now because of this incident. So what is this incident, and did it involve her? Because, you know, we're hearing from the news that it involved one of her fans getting beat up. Did she beat up one of her fans? No. This was an incident where one of her fans got assaulted by somebody else in her group. It was like the plus one of somebody who she knew. So she says that she doesn't know the assaulter. This happened at the end of September 29th. They were in Apgujeong. They were at a restaurant/bar. You know, in Korea, everything's a restaurant/bar, okay? So they were out in the alley hanging out, and a fan came by and noticed Jessi and said like, oh, can I take your picture? This fan, they say, was about 18 years old, but it sounds like 18 years old Korean age, and he was still like in high school, so probably a high school senior. So that's why they're calling him like a kid, and that the kid got beat up by somebody in her group. And so she has been really criticized by the public when the public doesn't have I believe, the complete story, and they're grasping at straws, and you can kind of see the reaction of the people who are just looking for an excuse to hate her. That's the really unjust part. But the way I see this situation and the way that it's being talked about in Korean media is that there is a bit of a nuance here. There is a bit of a story behind the story. What happened is that she's already apologized twice publicly. She said that she felt like she had to take responsibility. She didn't do enough for the fan, even though she didn't hit the fan. So the reason why this story is a bit complicated is that it's bringing up many debates all at once. So if it were just you and your friend's friend beat up some stranger on the street, how are you responsible for that friend of a friend? So that is one of the debates about how unfair it is for a celebrity navigating just their private life in public, how the standards are way different. The way that it struck me for a normal person maybe trying to feel what it's like right now in Jessi's shoes is, let's say you're getting married, you're the bride, and one of your guests plus one hit somebody either at the wedding or even somebody just maybe in the same wedding venue that had nothing to do with your wedding, but you as the bride feel responsible because it happened during your wedding, your event, and that you have to take extra steps to resolve the situation, or people do expect you to take extra steps to resolve the situation, where in a normal kind of everyday thing, it's like, that didn't involve me. I didn't hit the person. I even tried to stop that person from hitting the person that did get hit. But it's like everywhere you go in public as a celebrity, you have to, I think, consider that everything's a wedding. You're the bride. And if anything happens wrong in your vicinity, then you're going to be held to a different level of responsibility than normal. And so that's the part where it's a bit unfair for Jessi. She did not lay hands on this fan. The fan asked for a photo, and she said that she didn't feel comfortable taking a photo. It was late at night. She probably had a few drinks. She was, of course, like even through the CCTV that we do have, she's looking fly, but you don't always have the right to take a photo with a celebrity, especially when they're not in work mode. And the fan was totally okay with it. Jessi apologized twice, saying like, I'm sorry, I can't take a photo with you right now. And the fan was like, oh, I'm sorry for asking. The fan was about to walk away when the plus one in her group came out of the shadows in the alleyway, observing the situation, and just hit this guy many times. And that was the problem. After that happened, the kid called the police, but it looked like Jessi had extracted herself from this situation. They had left. They weren't running away, because after the kid called the police did a scan and search of the neighborhood. Maybe they were the same team with the scooters. I don't know. They were scanning the neighborhood, and they found Jessi just seated at a restaurant/bar, and she was just continuing her night. And then they were able to escalate it further. It seems like the mother of the kid was escalating it, because after this whole event, she even went to Jessi's entertainment agency and said that, we need to, resolve this, because now it's like a police situation. And the entertainment agency said that, well, Jessi was not the one that hit it. Try to find, you have to go find this plus one. Now, where it gets a bit weedy is whether or not Jessi helped or hindered them being able to find the plus one. Because the plus one is being alleged to be a little bit on the shady side, maybe even on the gang-related side. So that this became a situation where they were trying to not be close to this person by association. Jessi says that she met this person for the first time that night. Not my friend. But he is the plus one of her producer, Koala. Koala and her have worked on many hit songs together, and it seems like they have a close friendship, maybe even more, depending on the pictures. People are trying to read into it. But they are friends, and then this person was associated with Koala. So that's the kind of rub that the police or people trying to, go further into the situation are feeling now a bit like there's question marks or a dark cloud, because wouldn't you be able to easily give police the information of the assailant even if they were not your friend but your plus one? And definitely her producer, Koala, would be able to probably get the contact information of this guy. They said that, this guy is Chinese and he's already left the country. That pisses off Korean people a lot. The the feeling or the sentiment that people can come into Korea, do some sort of crazy business, and then just flee without facing any type of punishment or justice or investigation. So that starts to ignite people's, like, flipping that coin to now, like, think of Jessi all in a bad light. That is one of the triggers. And so this guy is still at large, but I think there is one culprit that I saw on the CCTV that is not being talked about, and that would further explain the situation more, I think, in context. I'm not trying to ascribe blame here, but I think that this was such a tragedy because of the fan's phone. I'm not blaming the fan, but I think this was a case of horrible misunderstanding. Let's look at the actual CCTV close-up where the fan approaches Jessi. The problem I think that nobody's talking about is that the phone is flashing. The actual flash and the screen is flashing while he's walking up to ask for a photo. So it looks like instinctually, especially when you're a few drinks in, instinctually, oh, is this guy already taking photos, of her without getting a yes? And the problem was, I don't think this fan was at all, because I was looking at the phone, I was like, this is a little odd. Like, it does look like he's taking pictures, but it looks like the phone is doing it on its own. Like, it was not the fan, pushing the shutter. And I was reminded of, oh, this is probably that setting on the phone where if you get a notification or if you get a phone call, the phone flashes. I had totally forgotten about this situation. I think I've only seen like senior citizens use it, when you can't really hear, or they got it on vibrate, they got it on sound, and they got the lights flashing, if they're getting a phone call. But since he's a high school student, I can see high school students activating this function on your phone, which is called flash notification, because if you're studying in the library or if you're in the classroom and you can't even put it on vibrate because that makes too much of a sound, you can have the flashing notifications to know that somebody's calling, maybe it's your mom calling, and I bet the mom was calling saying like, why aren't you home yet? And it created this horrible situation because then you see in the CCTV, Koala just instinctually reacting like negative, like we don't have the audio, but we can kind of see like instinctually it's like, why are you taking a photo? But the student has the phone angled to them, and I think Koala saw that and it looked like, oh, he's not taking a photo, and so Koala kind of steps back on that. But the assailant was kind of down in the alleyway. I don't know what he was just doing. Maybe, he was just hanging out, but he was a little further away and he doesn't speak Korean. So from him, the situation looks shady in the sense that like this dude is just taking pictures anyway, even though Jessi said no, but he doesn't know Korean. And he's just visually assessing the situation, and also from a different cultural context, because even though they said he was Chinese, it sounds like he's actually like a Taiwanese American. And so he's assessing it from a different kind of cultural lens, and it looks shady. And then it doesn't excuse his reaction, but a lot of the Korean public, where they're a little bit more unfair to Jessi, are looking at it like this is so unprovoked. I would say there is a trigger. There is somewhat of a provocation that was misinterpreted, which is, of course, the assailant's fault. But there was something there to be misinterpreted. And his reaction, of course, was completely unjustified, but it sounds like, that's how that guy deals with these types of situations. And so when Jessi apologized on her Instagram saying like, had I just taken the photo, this wouldn't have happened, I really do think that's what she meant. That had she just done it, there would have been none of this like suspicious flashing and the guy wouldn't have hit. Some people have a problem with that part of the apology because it sort of ignores the other guy. But she does say in her apology that she wants to make sure that this guy is found and that he receives the appropriate justice. Jessi has already been to the police. They already did a photo line, which was not fair. I don't know if it was an official photo line. It could have been another Scootergate type of photo line, but they were definitely taking her PIC and zooming in. And so we don't know what she told the police, how much she told the police in the sense of like, you know, well, here's his number, go call him, you know, and bring him in and let me help, you know, address the victim. So that I think was the unfortunate mixture of events, which leads a lot of celebrities to say like, look, if you're going to be drinking, do not drink like a regular person in a restaurant outside. You have to just have a party at home because you might make a mistake when you're drunk, but she didn't. Your friends might make a mistake when they're drunk. Her friends didn't, but the friends plus one could make a mistake, did. And then, you know, there's always other people around that can make mistakes. And because you're the celebrity, you know, you're the bride, it's there at your wedding, then you have to take undue responsibility that usually doesn't come to you. Now, people also are giving her crap about the way she reacted in the moment. And now this is another type of debate with celebrity. What did happen from the CCTV, as you can see, she did immediately try to stop the dudes who are much bigger than her and stronger than her from fighting. Even it looked like either the girl acquaintance, girlfriend, or there was just another girl in that group. She even pulled away the assailant and even dragged the assailant down the alley to get him to stop. So there was definitely initial, like their own group was trying to manage the problem child or problem assailant in their own group. So you can't say Jessi didn't do anything. Now, then she's in a little bit of a tough situation because you don't want to be even physically close if there is an escalation. As a non-celebrity female, the guys are fighting. What can she do? And then as a celebrity, she doesn't want to be like, you know, get wrapped up into things like that. But because it seemed like she took a little bit more of a passive approach, people are upset with her. Now, this is where it starts to cross into celebritydom, fandom. If it were most regular women out there, if they acted like that, it would make sense. Because why is she going to try to endanger herself and make things worse? And she did as much as she physically could. However, Jessi's whole image is the tough girl that would get into a fight. And this is where it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If she had gotten in there and something had happened unexpectedly, unpredictably, you don't know where punch is going to fly, where, you know, hoop earrings are going to be twisted in somebody's fingers. So then she would have been blamed for fighting. However, she's also being blamed in a way for not being like more that kind of like tough girl that's going to fight on behalf of her fans. One Korean YouTuber explained it very, very succinctly and very astutely in the sense that had she actually beat up the assailant, like her plus one, on behalf of her fan and protected her fan at all costs. Even I'm gonna punch my friend's friend. You know, you don't mess with my fans. She would be like a national hero on many different continents. However, she was being a real, I think, real woman, real person, and people are the fans that are critical of her saying like, oh, her passive reaction, her like a little bit weaker reaction doesn't match her, you know, tough girl image. That's a character, that's a performance. As much as it aligns with her actual personality, it's more of a performance. But in fans' minds, it's like, well, she didn't, you know, I would expect her to go, you know, go just, you know, use her physical force and protect her fan. Number one, that all that physical, you know, that tough thing, that's in the studio, okay? And in real life, she knows that there is a limit to, even as much as she, you know, can work out or whatnot, there is a size differential and just things that are beyond her control where it's not smart to go fight with guys one-on-one. And by the way, take a look at her designer fanny pack. Smart girl. I think this does match her real persona. You know, you wear those things if you want to cut and run real quick, you know, out of a situation. So she's not going to be always fighting. And then in this case, where unfairly I believe she's being misaligned here or maligned, is that they're bringing up an old case from 2013 where she's being accused of being involved in like a fight with other girls in the bathroom. So maybe they're trying to say like, so what is this? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, oh, because, you know, she fights and stuff, you know, at the club. And this is like 11 years ago in 2013, even if it were true, because the case is still a little bit questionable. The person who was the victim said that they had to just drop the case because she had to, you know, go back to America, move back to America, and she couldn't have any open police investigations, but she still blames Jessi and her friends. Jessi says that it was not her doing any punches. It was her friends or people around her in the bathroom where all this kind of stuff happened. Anyhow, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for her right now. And she, you know, she's not on the right side of the coin here, and it's flipping around, you know, like all sorts of tokens flying all over the place like it's a kid's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. So this is the unfortunate part of this situation where, first of all, I think the real instigator was the phone feature that flashes notifications. And the reason why I give that even more weight is that I think most people, especially Jessi's age around, don't use that function and probably never knew that that function existed. And even if they did, probably forgot about it because it was a very, like a whisper in a neuron in my brain thinking like, I think that's a phone feature. And then when I looked it up, it was very obvious. That is the phone feature. That's what looked like had sparked the reaction. Now, that kind of a spark does not mean that it justifies any violence. And it doesn't even mean that you're justified in your misinterpretation of it. That was the fault of the assailant for misinterpreting it. And the reason why I understand it could be a misinterpretation is looking at Koala's reaction, because like his instinctual thing was like, this dude is taking photos anyway, and I gotta stop him. And then you can kind of see like, oh, he's like, oh, he's not taking any photos because the dude was like literally showing him his phone, like inadvertently in a way, the way that he was holding it. Now, this is where it gets a bit dicey for Jessi, and where people who are still a bit critical of the situation, but are obviously not trying to drag Jessi down, are continuously asking and having doubts because there is a bit of a gangster-ish flavor to this situation. Now, it is allegations because we don't know who the guy is. And so that immediately brings a bit of a trust factor that works against Jessi, because easily if somebody is your plus one and is already, a known, you said that he's an acquaintance of the producer, then the producer can be very specific with who this person is. But it does look like there are attempts to be like, okay, guys, let's kind of keep the assailant out of this and like have distance over the situation, and therefore Jessi's going to, after the fact, take a lot more of the responsibility, because it looks like it does not look good if Jessi is closely associated with this person or that world. Now, the thing is that the music industry in general has had, not to justify it, but has had always, no matter, it seems like what country you're in, some ties to this organized crime world. Even, bubble bath clean Frank Sinatra, yeah, he was closely tied to organized crime. And definitely the first generation, second generation, and maybe even now, who knows, of the whole Korean rapper scene, especially if you're coming from the Korean American, I don't know, like talent recruitment center on Olympic and Western, they have always had a little bit of a history, either direct or adjacent to the Korean kind of. And so Jessi is not an LA K-Town girl. She's more of Jersey K-Town girl. She moved to Korea when she was 15. But this was a girl, when she, recounted stuff that happened when she was little, she would go sneak out to go to the K-Town PC Bang. PC Bang is like a place where you can play video games on computers. And definitely, in her childhood era, it was like sometimes you can't afford like all these gaming computers and all the games, so you go to this like little place with like 30 computers and everybody's paying by the hour to play these games. Well, she would take the bus there. Okay, she would sneak out of the house and take a bus to go to the PC Bang to play video games. Like, so I think she is real. Okay, she is real. But in those kind of environments, you're definitely adjacent to some of these situations. Now, the problem is that Korean people will not like her being adjacent, but even like kind of within. And the way that she kind of looks like she's a lot closer to it is because of Koala. Now they're lobbing accusations that maybe even Koala is like, gang affiliated, but that's just an allegation. That's like discrimination of the tattoos. But they're saying like, oh, his tattoos say, is like of a popular gang. There are a lot of people who are from that world. I'm not saying Koala is from that world, but I know firsthand from somebody who told me, who was a Korean American, went to Korea, did music, doesn't do music anymore, but said like, during his youth, he was either in the gang or gang affiliated, like the Friends. So you're adjacent or in it. And it's not good. I would say definitely not good, because there's a lot of pain that comes with that sort of business, to fund that the economy of the gang system that hurts real people. From what I've been able to research, the Korean American gangs are a little bit on the lighter side or kind of dissipated side. They don't go as crazy as a lot of the other gangs. And one of the big pieces of evidence for this is that a lot of the gangs did extortion, like protection money. We're going to protect this business if you give the gang money, and the gang becomes like a private police force. And it usually works, I think still to this day, we have evidence that if you're in a business that is a bit shady, and if something goes down and you need the police, but then if you call the police, the police will come and be like, All right, well, we have to respond to that thing, but then this overall thing is a thing that is illegal. So if you can't call the police, then that's when you start to depend on this like gang protection. But even in the 90s, like just legitimate businesses, regular businesses, being terrorized and having to pay this protection money to these gangs, they thought, okay, fine. If something goes down, like let's say like another rival gang or like some other people try to attack this business, they can call not only the police, but they can call, the gang and have them protect. Well, Korean American gangs got the reputation that they would take the protection money but never show up when you needed their protection. And this was really codified in the Los Angeles riots in 1992. A lot of the businesses said that like, okay, if there ever was a time when we needed protection and the police officially were not there to protect our businesses, this is so documented with video evidence, the police are even letting the looting happen, then okay, you have your backup. I've been paying protection money all the time to protect my dry cleaning business. I need the gang now. Come on, and protect my business from being destroyed and have my life savings go up in smoke. Apparently the gangs didn't show up to protect. So that's when you saw the rooftop Koreans. And so these people probably, I think that added a bit of that inner verve. It's like, I call the police. I see them on the corner. They're letting this happen. I called the gang people that I had to pay protection money to. They didn't show up. All right, guys, rooftop. We're going to the rooftop and, try to remember your military training and protect the businesses. I think that's a bit of what happened with the rooftop Korean situation and why they seemed very determined, because they're just like, nobody's showing up for us. We got to save ourselves. And one recent piece of evidence that just happened in August of this year was that there was one gangster. It looked like he was a bit of a solo operation with maybe a few partners, but not like a huge gang. And he would be shaking down and extorting money from people in the nightlife business where it kind of skirts legal or not. And he was put in jail for, I believe, 22 years for extensive extortion, beating people up when they didn't pay their protection money. And when the authorities researched into him, they saw that he was affiliated with a gang that was non-Korean. I don't know if it's black or Hispanic, but it's in Watts, and their color is like the same as BTS Army color. I was shocked. I was like, oh crap, you better be careful, like running around K-Town, wearing your, 보라색, like purple BTS kind of merch, because I had no idea that was actually like, one of the gangs. And so the weird thing was, people were just looking at it kind of weird, is that like this guy was Korean. He's either Korean or Korean American, and his back, his like, I guess, authority in a sense was not his own gang in among Korean Americans or Koreans. It was an existing gang that is like really, I think, big and has a long reputation in America. And so this dude was going around extorting businesses in Koreatown in Los Angeles, but this dude lived in Woodland Hills. Woodland Hills is a rich, kind of a fancier part of LA. It's like not as expensive as Calabasas, and definitely Hidden Hills. That's like the Kardashian thing, but like the neighborhood right next to it. And that's where a lot of people in like the entertainment industry live, and people where, they want a quiet, organized, well-maintained, neighborhood. So this fool is just like running amok in K-Town, beating people up in alleys with bats and stuff. And he's going home to Woodland Hills, where he's probably, calling the cops on his neighbors if the trash can doesn't get taken in like the second after trash day. But where it then does get, I think, a bit suspicious and the dark cloud is, like I said, this dude who lived in Woodland Hills and was backed up by a gang in Watts and not a Korean American gang. It seems like if you want to be a bit gangster as a Korean American, you're going to have more alliances with powerful gangs, because there's just not enough probably Korean Americans who want to just like, mess with this whole gangster life, for kimbap. And so that is the accusation for Koala here. Whether Koala was in the gang that they're accusing him of or not, it seems like that gang itself is not like wreaking that much havoc, although we don't know, because all this is all enclosed, we don't know what happens. But it does look, if the allegations are true, that he was linking with this other gangster who was the assailant and was the Taiwanese American. He's more connected. Apparently, they did a facial forensic 84% match on AI, so it's still an allegation, but already mainstream Korean media has dug this all up and says it's this dude from this gang in LA that's more of a Taiwanese or Chinese gang that has branches in America and also in Taiwan and maybe part of a triad system. So linking with an actual gang that is scary and is very unsavory. Is this person, why this person show up in your little dinner party? And is this something you commonly do? Is this something that is part of that's what I think is bringing questions up with Korean people. But because there's still just allegations, it's very unfair to be dragging Jessi down and accusing, you're basically almost accusing her of that. And this is when I think maybe it's the lesson, you got to edit your friends list, I guess, because then can you not have any friends? That's the thing. It's you don't know everything about your friends even, and you don't even know everything about your friends, definitely. So that's a little bit of a awkward situation. And also, even still, if that's your community, then what you're gonna, the part that's bad though is when it affects normal people, and the reaction of the assailant on just this guy, this high school kid who wanted a fan photo, is way out of line. And you see that world's rules are different than apgujeong high school senior rules, and this guy gets beat up. That's the unfortunate part. Now, what is being done, and does Jessi deserve all of this hatred still when she's still trying to resolve this situation? She apologized, and the problem that she is facing is that the Korean public thought that she should have waited for the police, or she should have did a settlement. The thing that could have easily gotten her out of this situation was to settle quickly with the victim, because apparently in Korea, if you get into a fist fight or something like that, and the victim settles with the assailant, then the police can't even touch it, because they're saying well, y'all had kumbaya, you just agreed, and we don't need to get involved because everything has been taken care of. Had she just settled, that could have ended it there. So that's why she's saying she regrets so much about how this has spiraled out of control. First, she should have maybe just taken the picture, she says. Then she should have done more to resolve things right away with the victim and the mother and the family. And she wants to do all of that. She says, even if it's too late, I want to do all of that. But because of this situation, I think because that friend was too shady, she chose what I think was more of the safe route at the time to try to just sidestep it a little bit. Because you don't know, sometimes you don't know who that, it looks like this dude is just an innocent high school kid, but it could have been somebody with more malintent. And it's hard to make these decisions in the moment like this, and you're forced to make some decisions that actually are not always going to be the best. And so I think that's why she says she has 10,000 regrets about this, and that she's very sorry that this happened. Yes, in the sense that, like, if she weren't Jessi and she weren't the celebrity, then none of this would have happened. But that's not something that should be her own fault. She tried to stop the situation from getting out of control, and the dude hit the fan. She had nothing to do with it. That was not her fault, and she shouldn't be held, to that. Where it's still kind of like, kind of has a little bit of a hang up for me is that I want to see her be very aggressive with the assailant, and then I think she can completely step back from it. But because it doesn't look like that happened, it's a little bit of a dark cloud. On the other hand, it could have happened and the police are just not releasing, the investigate. Like, she could have probably said, like, here's his number, here's his email address, here's his Instagram. I mean, the media has already figured out his Instagram, and here he is. You go call him. He's the one that did all of this. I will help, but he got to face justice. And Jessi did say that publicly, like, I hope he's found, and I hope he gets justice. It's just kind of like when that kind of a person is around you, just like, how much influence does that person have that you can't admit? And I think this is a bit of a situation for Jessi that I think she kind of knows. That she says that she has to be transparent about everything because it's worse if it just like goes up on dispatch. Like, so that's why she's just open about how, ratchet she can be, and then people love her for it. And then the moment she steps away from, I think that it's kind of a problem for her. And maybe that's just kind of like her fate in life, to just have to be an open book, to challenge herself, to be, straight and narrow. But it's very unfair how some people are taking this, like, they're taking like some legitimate questions and just reporting on the situation, but then moving towards therefore, aren't her lips too big? Therefore, isn't her booty too poppin'? Therefore, isn't it uncomfortable to have such big of a chest? That has nothing to do with this situation. This is literally just a bit of an unfortunate incident that needs to be resolved, but that does bring up many of these debates all at once, and that's the challenging part, to do all of the mental gymnastics. On the whole, yes, I absolutely love Jessi. I think she is so cool. She is great for the Korean entertainment industry. She sticks up for Korean Americans, and she really, I think, is broadening the scope of acceptance in Korean society. And she's just funny. She makes everybody laugh and have a good time. And so we shouldn't be hating on her for this, and just let her make the choices that is her life, and to get rid of this PIC gate, okay? Stop zooming. All right, guys, what do you think? Put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.